Hi everyone, my name is Karis and welcome to my corner of the internet where I talk about books and other things that I enjoy. Today I'm going to be filming the end of year book tag. I've seen literally everyone do this video and I wanted to jump on the trend a little bit late as usual, but that's okay. So this tag was created a couple of years ago by Ariel Bassett, so I'll leave a link to that original tag in the description. As the name would suggest, it's basically just a few questions, some taking a little look back at the things I've already read this year, some talking about things that I hoped to read or things that I still want to read, and I just thought it would be really fun. I always like doing things like this at different points throughout the year to reflect on my reading at any given point. So without any further ado, I'll get on with the questions. The first question is, are there any books you started this year and still need to finish? So I've got 2 books on the go currently, but I'm not going to mention them because I'm pretty sure I will finish them by the end of the year, given that it's only the end of November when I'm filming this. But aside from that, there are 2 books that I started a long time ago and haven't got around to finishing. So these are, first of all, Pride and Prejudice. I started this book in January. It was the second book that I wanted to read this year, and I read about half of it and then I just put it down and never got around to picking it back up again. I wasn't not enjoying it, but it's the second time that I've got halfway through Pride and Prejudice. There's just something about it that I find so difficult to get through. I think there's just something about Jane Austen's writing that I find quite difficult to read. I read Emma at uni and I remember finding that quite difficult as well, although I did end up enjoying it in the end. The book that I'm currently reading at the moment is actually Sense and Sensibility, and I've listened to the majority of that on audio and I found it a lot easier to understand what's going on. So I think perhaps the way forward with Pride and Prejudice is to listen to it on audio, but I think I will need to start it again. So third time lucky hopefully, but I don't think I'll be getting around to this one until the new year. The second book that I'm about halfway through is Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. I started this one in March. I was reading it to and from work every day on the bus. And the last time that I picked it up was the last day that I went into work before we got sent home to work from home and then ultimately be put on furlough because of the pandemic. So I had all this time to read it. I don't know why I didn't pick it up again. I just didn't. So I think I'm going to need to probably start it from the beginning again. It's also my friend's book, so I probably should finish it so I can give it back to her at some point. But yeah, both of these books are actually in my flat where I live for work. I've been at my parents' house for months now. I've basically been here all through lockdown and was here for most of the summer as well. So I'm not planning on being able to get around to these by the end of the year because I'm not going to be going back to my flat. But hopefully early next year I will get around to finishing both of these because Fingersmith in particular I was actually really enjoying. I just put it down. The next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition to the end of the year? So I always consider classics to be really good transitional books for autumn through to winter and through to early January, February as well. I don't always get around to reading a lot of them, but in my little idealized version of what I would be reading in my head, I feel like classics are always a sort of thing that I think, oh yeah, it would be really nice to just snuggle up with a good classic during this time of year. So the 2 things that I'm gonna mention in terms of things that I would like to read to transition to the end of the year are 2 things that I had hoped to read during autumn, didn't get around to. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get around to them during winter. Again, not sure if it'll be before the end of the year, but to me the end of the one year and the start of the next year, like January, February, all sort of blends into one because seasonally it's quite similar. The first is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I really wanted to read this during autumn and just didn't get around to it, but I think it's going to be a really cozy read, so it's one that feels perfect for winter as well. The other one is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Again, I just keep talking about how much I want to read this book, yet I never actually get around to picking it up. I think I'm quite intimidated by it and I would really like to find it on audio so I can listen to some of it that way, but I haven't been able to do that so far. This one doesn't really evoke the same sort of wintry magic that I feel like Anne of Green Gables could evoke. However, it feels like the perfect sort of thing to sit down and pick up on a really gloomy, rainy day. So fingers crossed again, I will be able to get around to this one during the winter. I also just wanted to quickly mention a book that I read earlier this year, so I'm not going to be rereading, but I think it's a really good transitional book, and that is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This book begins at Christmas and it's just so perfect and cozy and just lovely. If you like cozy vibes, then I would recommend this one, and I really want to rewatch the film at some point towards the end of this year, because again, I saw that in January and really loved it, and I just really want to sit down, snuggle up and rewatch that film soon. The next question is there a new release you're still waiting for? And to be honest, no, there's not. There's nothing that I can really think of off the top of my head. There was a few releases that came out earlier in the year that I still haven't got around to picking up, but they weren't things that I was desperate for. They were things that I was sort of interested in. So I guess Addie LaRue, I've never read a V. Schwab book and I really want to, but I don't know if Addie LaRue is the best place to start. So if you like V. Schwab, Victoria Schwab, let me know in the comments where I should begin with her books. Who I Was With Her by Nita Tyndall is another one that I talked about in my 5-star predictions. I really would like to get around to reading that one at some point, but I started it on audio and I was enjoying it, but I just didn't feel like it was the sort of thing that I wanted to be reading at this time of year. So again, it might be another one that I push into sort of March sort of time next year. The other thing that I could think of for this question is a bit random, but it was just announced on Instagram that there's going to be this new coffee table book coming out called Dear Audience, and it features like photos and letters from all sorts of theatre-y people, performers, people involved in the theatre industry, and I would really love to get my hands on a copy of that, because I have just all year really been on a real theatre hype and just really missing theatre, and particularly at the moment I've just been thinking about it so much. I've been listening to so many soundtracks. I'm just so ready to be back seeing a musical or seeing a play again soon, and yeah, this book is just a celebration of that and all the things that I love, and I think some of the money will be going towards supporting people in the industry, which I love. It's been a really rough year for everyone in just the arts industry in general, so yes, I'm really hoping to get my hands on a copy of that really soon. The next question is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? So I've already uploaded my little end of year TBR, which features 4 books from the countries that I was meant to travel to in 2020. So I would recommend going and watching that if you would like to see the books that I am going to be focusing on above anything else towards the end of the year. Aside from that, obviously the books that I've already mentioned in this video I would like to get to if possible, but there are 2 other books that I will be really annoyed with myself if I don't read before the end of the year, and they are books 4 and 5 in the Murder Most Unladylike mystery series by Robin Stevens. So we've got Jolly Foul Play and Mistletoe and Murder. I want to read both of these before the end of the year because this is the Christmassy mystery, and it would be really nice to read it at the seasonally appropriate time. The next question is there a book that you think could still shock you and become your favourite book of the year? I'm not sure about shocked, because I think any of the books that I'm going to pick up, I'm really hoping that I will really enjoy. But the one out of everything that I think has potential to become a favourite is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlo Ruiz Zafón. This is one that I'm reading for my little books from countries that I was meant to be travelling to this year series, because this is by a Spanish author and was originally written in Spanish, and I was meant to be going to Madrid this year. It's a book that I've been wanting to read for a really long time, and one that I've just always thought that I would love. I always seem to love any book that is about books or deals with books in any way. I just find them so magical, and I've just heard so many amazing things about this book, so I think that this is one that has potential to, if not be my favourite, be one of my favourite books of the year. And the final question is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? Yes, I have to some extent, although I think I'll really need to think about my plans some more once I've started back at work, because this year I've had exponentially more free time for reading, and once I go back to work, I know that's going to be the real struggle with balancing that and just life in general with reading. However, some things that I know that I'm definitely going to be doing, I'm definitely going to be focusing on my Around the World series in 2021. I want to be really focusing on reading books from countries from all over the world. I'm also going to be one of the hosts for RibSat, which is Read Your Bookshelf-a-thon, which is running in January. I will leave the links to the Twitter and the announcement video for that in the description, so you can go and check that out. There'll be more on that coming soon, because we're all working now to sort of make our little introductory videos for that, but that's going on in January, so that will be really exciting, although I'm not sure whether I'll be here or whether I'll be at my other flat, so I'm not sure which bookshelf I'm going to be reading from. And I also have a couple more little themed TBRs in mind, but I just don't know when I'm going to fit them in, but at some point in 2021 hopefully. So that was it for this video. I'm not going to tag anyone because I feel like everyone's done it now, but if you haven't done it yet and you would like to, then feel free to say that I tagged you. Let me know your answers for any of these questions in the comment section. I would love to know. But other than that, that is it for today's video. I hope you're keeping safe and staying well, and I will see you again next time. Bye!